Hi, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Stardew Therapy, where we talk about everyday issues and hopefully you find some parts of it relatable and know that you are not alone in facing this issue, no matter where you are and who you are. Today is a great day. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a great day because we talk about people's problems, right, and my problem. But it's good that there's a viewer submitted problem today. The viewer just talked about how to manage school. A simple question. I'll try my best to answer it, even though the question wasn't very detailed. Hopefully some parts of it is relatable to you. I think I will just talk about my university experience. Usually when it comes to school, the things that are hard to manage is schoolwork and school social life, I suppose. And the first part, I think the biggest part is definitely schoolwork, where I find myself procrastinate and I see my friends procrastinate a lot. And my understanding is that the reason why we procrastinate often comes down to just lack of discipline. There's a lot of fear that you might not do well. Just overall unfamiliar with the subject. Interesting thing. I studied psychology and drama before coming to university, and now that I'm in university, you know what I'm studying? I'm studying marketing. So there's a huge difference, right? I was taking art course, then now I'm taking a business course. So there was definitely some concern, doubts and fears whether can I do well or not, and this fear can be quite crippling. And one of those things that I figure out how do I manage this fear is really, sometimes things can be, there's this monumental task. This task is so unfamiliar, so difficult that I don't even know how to do it. And the first thing I do really is to just look at it and really break down into smaller pieces. That is usually one of the advice that a lot of people give, just breaking it down to small pieces. And if the small pieces is still too overwhelming, start by taking the first step. Figure out what is the first step to kind of get 1% progression on this small task. And also seek help from your friends, from your lecturers and all these things. So starting one step at a time. And even if you take one step and you stop doing anything and you continue procrastinating afterwards, you shouldn't beat yourself over it. If in college we are taking a lot of different subjects that we might not have taken before. Even if I have come from a business course, there are definitely new subjects every single time that we have to take. More complicated stuff and all of these things. So really is to take it one step at a time. Don't beat yourself over it. If you don't, if you take one step and you stop, at least you took one step, right? And really the second part is all about discipline here. I feel that putting myself in a routine is very useful. It kind of conditions me. So part of the psychology that I learned is all about classical conditioning yourself. I mean, conditioning at the end of the day is very important to creating good habits, right? So you want to make sure that you set a time in the day to do all your work, to make sure that every perhaps 1 PM or 2 PM after you have your lunch, you sit down on your desk and you do your work. If sitting down on your desk is too distracting because you use your computer, you play games there, maybe find a cafe, find somewhere else, find a school library. Always go there at the same time, sit down and do your work. And even if you can't do your work, if you get distracted, you just have to sit there and really just force yourself. And one good way to kind of manage and maintain my focus really was using a timer. I think there's a lot of different ways. Like there's this app that grows trees, so it kind of locks out your phone. It doesn't really lock out to some extent. It's more of like your tree starts growing as long as your phone is idle and you're not doing anything on it. And I think there's some Pomodoro thing where it's like you can set it to 45 minutes, 25 minutes, even the tree version also. Yes, different kind of duration you can choose. That really helped me a lot. I think I don't know, maybe I'm a bit old because I use this kind of method. There are people who are just, for some reason YouTube also have videos where people say study with me, and it's insanely popular. I don't understand who is using those, but I suppose 1 million people are watching this video. That means it's useful, right? So I suppose you can use those as well. It can help you kind of stay on task. I'm not quite sure whether those videos have a timer. For me, I feel that I need a timer to really kind of pace myself. So it is useful in such a way where, let's say my attention span is very low right now, I will start with 25 minutes first. So 25 minutes of concentration. So at least you know, your mind, you yourself know that in 25 minutes time I can rest. So why not just sit down here and really focus and just do whatever I can do in 25 minutes? Because at least you got something to look forward to. There's an end. I think the difficult part is that when there's no start and there's no end, your default is just procrastination, right? So having those timers helps a lot, and then bit by bit, 25 minutes you can extend to 30 minutes. This is all about practice. It's not about, you know, people are not born like they can be instantaneously be very disciplined. These kind of things takes time, takes practice. Everything takes practice. You need to build your habit. You need to make sure that you go down to the cafe at 2 o'clock every single day, sit at the same table, create that perfect environment where all the factors are the same. So once you created that habit, right, and this consistent environment, then your mind can kind of take notice. It picks out on this pattern that, hey, I'm here, this is study time. So it kind of puts you in that mood. If you are doing it at home, it can be quite challenging, where, you know, there are different distractions. And in the beginning I was doing it at home, but I got kind of distracted. Even though I can focus a lot at home, like one of my concerns is that I have quite a huge social anxiety. So it takes quite an effort to go out and find a place where there's not a lot of people that will create this anxious feeling, right? So I guess you got to experiment a bit. Maybe you try at home. If it doesn't work, you can try and explore different places outside. Library can be quite consistent, but for me, library has been quite challenging because it's so quiet. It's great, but then sometimes there's this rare 1 or 2 people that always make some noises, or if they are sick, they're sniffling. I think library is just too quiet, where every single noise just becomes way too much. And at the end of the day, I just decided to just wear headphones instead. That helped a lot more. It really up to you. You have to go and figure out which environment is the best, and creating that controlled environment, you know, like a scientist. So that will help things out a lot when it comes to schoolwork. And yeah, seek help, find the perfect place, a routine, and breaking down things into smaller chunks. And the next part is about school life. I think school life, mainly we talk about social life, right? I'm not quite sure. I think there might be a huge disparity in terms of our experiences, because I'm from Asia. I don't think it has that kind of hazing or college culture in America or in UK. And you know, I don't stay in a dorm, and I don't know, maybe people are just more conservative, and I'm quite sure in Asia there are people who are like the typical jocks, the typical popular kids that will, you know, fuck around and do a lot of clubbing and all these things. It's true, but I'm not part of those crowd. My crowd is pretty normal. We just hang out, drinks, and, you know, have fun, study together. So I think it can be quite challenging starting as a freshman in university, in college. I think it's even more challenging as an introvert, where it's very hard to reach out to people. And I realized, you know, there are different degrees of introversion. I always thought my introversion, like, I always thought, you know, I don't know, maybe I have this I'm the protagonist kind of mindset, where if I'm an introvert, I can speak up, then why shouldn't you as an introvert speak up? Then I realized there are actually more extreme versions of introversion. So maybe I should cover that as well, because I was speaking to my friend and her sister is the extreme form of introversion. Like, they do not have any kind of skill to be able to converse, like conversation skill is just zero. I think if you are in my position, where you can actually, if you have social anxiety, but you can speak to people and you have made friends over time, people generally gravitate to you because you are genuine and all these things, it should be fine. You should just step out of your comfort zone and just, you know, create connections and speak to people, join group programs, extracurricular programs if possible, to find friends. But if you are someone who is just at the extreme version of introversion, that you just, I don't know, you just can't speak to people, you just suck at making friends, I feel that it's important to really use the same advice again, which is to find something where there are people, where there are social events happening. So any kind of extracurricular events definitely help a lot. And just trying to find something that you really enjoy, or the closest thing that you enjoy, I suppose, and just figuring out how to converse with people. I think conversation is something that you need to take time and practice. So for the situations I'm seeing, like with my friend's sister, is that she just didn't have much experience conversing with people. So you really need to first find a place where you can start practicing, and a place where you know, there are physical activities or experiences that can pull you guys together, where you can, through these physical activities or just general activities, you and this random group of people can grow closer together. So I mean, the most straightforward thing, I suppose, is any kind of sports kind of club, right? A sports club. You are going through this new training together, because you don't know how to play this particular sport, like a basketball game or something. And you know, it's through this routine weekly meetups and going through all this training, you become closer together, right? That's how relationships are built, through this shared kind of goal and shared teamwork. Team games are nice, team sports. So, but I would assume that supposedly most who are introvert wouldn't be out spending time playing sports, right? What about, I mean, okay, if as an introvert you might like running too. Find a running club, or find people who are running enthusiasts. I think it's important to really just find a place where where you can build shared experiences. And you know, when it comes to the conversation part, I feel that you need to start by finding these places that build a shared experience. Then from there, it can be easier to make conversations, because you have a foundation, a general kind of rapport or acquaintance, understanding, and then it is through the conversation that helps you. And it kind of oils the grease, or grease the oil, or whatever. I don't know how do you even say the term, but really it makes it easier, because at least you know that person, you know how to tackle the problem of having a conversation, right? You know what questions to ask, as compared to just straight up going to someone during a freshman camp or just in class and say, hey, how are you? Then you can start from there, and you can just talk about random things, anything under the sun. I personally, for me, I'm not that great of a conversationalist. I can't just walk up to someone random and strike up a conversation like that is amazing. That is entirely not possible. A lot of it that really works for me is just like what I mentioned, find shared experiences, find places that creates that, and then from there, once you have some sort of rapport, use the knowledge of what you have on this person, use the knowledge of what you have through the shared activity, because you have went through a shared activity. You can talk about that, you can talk about that person, you can talk about yourself, you can talk about the day, you can talk about the what is happening in the world. You have so much thing you can talk about. So really, it's more about just knowing how to put this into the conversation and just start talking to them. And slowly, bit by bit, you have to keep making these conversations, and you eventually get better, and you understand it, like understand how conversation works, and eventually this will get better over time. So that's for those who are extremely introverted. But if you're just normal and you're having tough times to find social life, I would imagine in certain universities, because there's one university in my country where it's a different kind of style. Like for mine, it's pretty good, because there are a lot of group work, there are a lot of group experiences. Like we have our own class. It's similar to a high school or middle school or something, where you have a class where everybody, you know, is your friend throughout the whole 2 years or 3 years of university, which is interesting. But whereas there are other university where it's slightly different, where everybody just comes to class, nobody knows one another, there was no freshman camp, orientation camp, or whatever not. Will just come, study, and they go home. And that's the worst part. And they have zero group work at all. Zero. So you can't make any friends at all. So this is the difficult part, right? So I suppose it really is a matter of just finding some sort of social life outside of the class. I'm quite sure every university would have some form of extracurricular events or club where you can actually meet friends. Yeah. So this is all I can share with you. Hopefully some parts of it is useful and relatable. Yeah, and thanks for submitting the problem. If you have any more problems to submit, for those who are watching, if you want to submit your problem, you can just go to the form below and submit your problem. So I shall see you all next time.